Okay, so that's a stereotype that black men in leadership positions have been trying to fend off for the longest time. That's why the first order of business is to establish respect. Not love, not adulation. It's respect. Respect for my competence, my level of excellence, and what I bring to the table and doing what I do. That's number one.
Oh, didn't see you there. How corny is that? Welcome everyone to Askew Citizens, the Revamp. I am your host, the Black Boomer, Stuart Askew. Now, today's segment is going to be something I'll be doing like on a regular basis. It's going to be called For the Culture. Basically what this segment is, I'll be addressing certain social constructs, misconceptions, and basically bullshit that helps divide people and just add stress to our lives. You know, a way of bringing people together by just breaking things down. Now, that brings us to today's topic. Quick question. Which one of these is imaginary? Race or religion? Now, I am an atheist, so I'm not going to be a dick and be like, oh, it's religion. We all know the answer is race. Well, some of you may not know that, but we all know religion is real. It's your gods that are imagined. But seriously, race, it's made up. It's totally made up.
That's a made-up word.
What words are made up?
Well, yes, but my point being is the concept of race really doesn't exist. Think about it. You have the white race, and you have apparently the black race, the brown race, and the off-white or yellow race, and then the multicolored race. As I run down the list, it kind of seems silly, doesn't it? Well, it should. Allow me to explain. Yep, we're going back to those times. Strap in. The concept of race, or how we view the term, goes hand in hand with the origin of the United States. But before we go there, let's venture back a little bit further. Before the 1500s, the term race really wasn't used, and when it was more like a term reflecting kinship, like the word tribe or house. The term didn't operate in the zeitgeist the same way it does today. It came about to distinguish, whites and slaves. What I mean is, only people of fair skin in those countries owned slaves. Therefore, whites and slaves. Now, don't jump ahead. What I'm saying is, pragmatically, it was easy and technically true. There were whites and then slaves. The nationality and ethnicity of these slaves was irrelevant. Now, in the early 1700s, as Europeans began to, let's say, expand into other regions and countries, the enlightened European philosophers of that time needed a way to, justify this colonizing. This European way of thinking flooded throughout the world and insisted that there was a human being evolutionary hierarchy. Now, who lay atop this hierarchy? Well, the European people who created these philosophies and helped them spread. People of lighter hue or peach skin or of a fair nature. In other words, white people. Whites were seen as more human than people of a darker hue. So this basically helped everyone in Europe sleep well and in fact be behind the push of basically colonizing other people's lands, along with the other brutalities, atrocities, near genocide, and the enslavement of South Pacific people, India, and of course people from Switzerland. And to YouTubers I really respect, like Mauler and Rags. I'm sorry, but it's a brilliant insult.
Whoa, okay.
Like that came out of nowhere.
And there's a lot of them. It's not the only one. You get the fucking colonizer comments as well.
Oh yes, it is funny cause it's true. Oh, they colonize. Oh. Okay, now let's stop here. We have to go back into history and look at two terms, okay? First, slave. Now, we don't have to go back that far to know what the term means, but let's go back to its origin. The term slave was for, well, those enslaved, but it was more for people thought of as heathens or seen outside the Christian. Back then, slave was a bit different. You see, slaves could marry, sometimes own property, dwell with commoners, even buy their own freedom. So the term itself had a slightly different meaning. Now, the other term along with slave is the term white. White has a totally different origin, and it's kind of the start of this whole thing. Follow me down the rabbit hole. You see, prior to the mid-1600s, no one really referred to themselves as white. It was sparsely used by the English to differentiate from East Indians, but for the most part, it was used to describe English women. You see, those of the fairest skin were the highest class and status. The posh and decadent never worked out in the sun. In fact, an English man at that time wouldn't want to be called white. It would insinuate that he was lazy and didn't labor. In the early 1600s, whites began to use, well, certain terms to categorize the ethnicities of people. Terms such as savage or subhuman. And for themselves, colonists and whites were basically synonyms. So, whites. Once again, it was just by proxy. White incorporated all colonists. It helped separate them from, well, the white colonists from the places they were colonizing. These are facts. Now that we know that, let's fast forward to the modern America. Not too modern, but let's get to the melting pot stage. You know, the melting pot that is America. Well, now it's more like a salad. Things are a little bit... Actually, you know what? It's more like a high school lunch tray. There's like dividers everywhere and people have sectioned themselves off. My point is, let's go back to the big boom of immigration in America. Now, in your major East Coast hotbeds, in the early 1800s, around 4.5 million Irish immigrants came alone due to famine. This, of course, was met with a lot of pushback and fervor. You see, Native Americans, I'm sorry, Europeans born native to America, in other words, white Anglo-Saxons, weren't too happy. The Irish, being predominantly Catholic, were seen as, well, invaders. There was even an anti-immigrant Irish-American party. They had their own candidate for president. This guy, Millard Fillmore. You know Millard Fillmore. Used to shoot dice with that dude. But pushing ahead a few years, let's get to the creation of the infamous Ellis Island. You know, the embodiment of the Statue of Liberty's mantra. This wave of immigration contained well over 500,000 Italians and over 4 million Jews. Along with them came hundreds of thousands from the central and southern parts of Europe. By 1917, Congress started legislation for mandatory literacy tests for those 16 and older. That was even followed up. Now, this isn't about immigration. So I'm going to go ahead and stop the history lesson on that right here. But consider the immigrants I mentioned. Outside of like 25,000 Chinese people that were duped over by the gold rush, you're talking about millions upon millions of immigrants, back when million meant something. And as you can imagine, they were met with the warm welcome that any large majority feels when they think they're being invaded or infiltrated. Prejudice, xenophobia, and in many cases, violence. The Irish, Italian, Jewish, Central and Southern European immigrants, they were all met with a lot of resistance. And as you can imagine, this has happened throughout human history, but in this country, we have a history. We've got a serious underbelly, and it's very seedy. Why do I mention that? Because it has a lot to do with black or colored people when it comes to the post-slavery era and equal rights. Now, I'm not going to talk about critical race theory. That's for a 3-part episode coming up where I'm going to piss off black people.
My opinion won't be what most people think it will be.
but it will be pragmatic and what people need to hear.
Shit. Stop. Thank you. God damn. Now, if I was going to be talking about equal rights and the civil rights movement and that sort of 1900s to now phase, I could be here forever. And that's not what this is about. But it is about something that was very prevalent in slavery and post-slavery and up and through the civil rights movement. It's something that has existed throughout the American black man's history. It's something we refer to as passing. Now, throughout our history in America, it's no secret that blacks have had a rough going, especially in the beginning. Well, much like red hair, sometimes, certain things could pop up, like recessive genes, albinoism, or just some type of anomaly. And sometimes lighter skin might have happened the old-fashioned way. In other words, a black person might give birth to a child that could pass as white. In times of slavery, these children could be taken and raised as white, or made a house nigga, or murdered. But more importantly, even after slavery, like say in the early 1900s and on, families might give the child up for adoption, or leave it on a doorstep. In other words, some desperate action that would possibly give this child a better life. A life where they wouldn't be persecuted for the color of their skin. You see where I'm going? Now think about it. The word race doesn't really describe anyone's heredity. It barely describes physical traits outside of skin color. Now, America has had a huge hand in the spread of this term, race. How so? Because as things went on in the early 1900s and things started to slowly change, something took place in America. As the country progressed, you had your Irish and your Italians, Jewish, so on and so forth, but people of lighter pigmentation were always free to move about the country. You didn't have to be an Irishman on the East Coast. Why not move out west and just not mention it? Oh no! Think about it. People of lighter hues found that if they were to travel the country, they could pass as, white Americans. If you're Irish, wait a couple of generations for the accent to fade, or just change it up a little bit. Move out west. You're white. If you're Italian,
bonjour.
Invite, your Irish friend over for dinner. You all can talk about Catholicism. Just don't tell anyone else. Just tell them you're white.
Bonjour. Oh no!
If you're Jewish, small nose, guess what? White. Just don't mention Moses. To this day, there's still stigmas with ethnicity, but if you go to an application, there it is. White. Big umbrella that a lot of people can fit under. The fact is, the misuse of the word race is backed by our Anglo-Saxon history, our white Anglo-Saxon history. It permeates through our culture to this day. Now, think about it. If you were back in, say, like 1920s, 30s, 40s, 50s, 60s, if you knew whites got rights that non-whites didn't get, and you knew you could get away with saying you were white, what would you do? Every ethnicity that could jumped under that umbrella. If you're a Jewish man with a yarmulke and little curly cues in a country western bar, you might get some funny looks, but take away the curly cues and don a cowboy hat and presto, mazel tov. But the fact of the matter is, you can't hide black. It's there. It's there for everyone to see. So with some people, calling themselves white was just overall easier, whether out of indifference or subterfuge. Black people, and by black people I mean black Americans. I consider myself black, not African American. I've never fucking been to Africa. Black people and all people of color kind of got fucked on this, When you incorporate some evil white people in the past and to this day that try to instill this idea of a superior race, a white superior race. It's ridiculous. In essence, It's a social construct. It's not a biological term. It doesn't relate to species, culture, or history. From its very early origin, it was initiated and instituted to give, deny, and or divide social and economic benefits and privileges. As an atheist, I feel the same persecution. I come across many different people that call themselves agnostic to avoid the stigma. I myself, early in college, called myself an agnostic, even though I knew I was an atheist. People automatically will assume that I have a lower moral code than someone of an organized religion, when in actuality, the statistics kind of bend the other way. Regardless, it's not about that. When it comes to race, there is such thing as race. The human race. Thanks for stopping in for these early episodes on my revamp. We got a little treat coming up for you. I hope you learned something in this episode and can pass it on. Love one another, care for one another. Stay tuned for a little bit of Maestro's Cynic Afro pick. And as always with each video, like, dislike, subscribe, share. I have sense of self, as should you, so the like and dislike, I don't care. We'll see you around. Vegeta's on the arm, Vegeta's on the leg, Vegeta on the shoulder, saying's what it said, blood's been bled, lyrics ain't been read. I try to tell you it's freestyle, that's why it's over your noggin, that's why you catch a flogging, a wailing, a slashing, a bashing. Me and Wax Styles, they stay clashing. My passion, yo, I show it, this ain't acting. That's why y'all cats, man, I'm hoping that you're strapped in. Stay holy like the Vatican for battling. Cats know my style on point, like that game in the Olympics. Pure physics, the way I get down, you can't hit this. It's Matrix, I'm moving, I'm dodging, I'm slipping. Y'all cats know this ain't fucking talking. STE, the fucking Prince of Goldschlager. Now it's STE, fucking the Bullet Dodger. Now it's fucking Steve Jeter, the Super Saiyan. I ain't playing. You best to watch how you behaving. All that whack shit that you relaying, claiming that you're woke. Nah, that's fucking silly. That's a snuggie. You stay woke and go back to sleep. Don't try to mug me. Your girl's still trying to hug me, and she won't let go. Now you looking at me like I'm the asshole. I think you just need to fucking lock down your hoe or let her go. In other words, curb your dog. Styles like I got, it ain't just all talk. Like I said, you just might get the flog. You might like it. Into that S&M. I fucking see you. Make your man take a BM. After I fucking come through beastin', I don't beat him. Like a old skit from fucking Tracy Morgan. Google it. Try to tell you I maneuver quick. Half the shit I say, you might have to Google it. Try to tell you that I fucking maneuver quick. It's like that spy hunter oil slick. I'm old school for real. Been that deal. Not out for mass appeal. Just spit rhymes that anyone can feel. I stay fucking nerdy. Also, you can see the PTSD at 7:30. Hold the microphone. Part of over cats like Todd Gurley before he lost his hip. Got a old rhyme style. Never fucking slip. Unless I want to and slip and I get back up. Come out, SWAT team calls back up. It's like that STE, yo, I'm back up. Even though I got my fucking back, shut the fuck up. It's abrupt, how I make the cats look chump. Got a temper like a volcano, known to erupt. But it's all controlled, I control it like Tycho. Cats thought I was a psycho. Nah, I got this shit fucking locked down for Dolo. Solo, don't need to rock a fucking afro to let you know I'm blacker than the average asshole. Claiming that Stewart's got a nice vernacular. Come on, man, the freestyle spectacular. I see your girl still trying to get me in back of her. Now how's that? We all cats still trying to talk it. Man, I fucking hold it. I'll play villain or evil. Or funny like Christopher Walken. And I'm still chicken hawking. Do this shit too often, they'll catch us off the Charmin. So you fucking toilet tissue. Don't even know the issue. Style beneficial, old school like Scud missiles. But they still working. Fucking powder's still fucking deadly. Once you supply the flame to this medley. XDE, the mic is too heavy for you to lift after I fucking drop it. Cats be like, man, that fucking dude's fucking style is really knocking my noggin. It ain't really jogging. Cats fucking step on my foot, you best to beg my pardon. Oh, fuck the dumb shit. This is all freestyle too. You know what I mean?